Well, one of the highlights at the annual White House Correspondents' Dinner is the entertainment. That assignment has been given to Jay Leno, Wanda Sykes, Stephen Colbert in the recent past. This year, it's Seth Meyers, head writer for Saturday Night Live and Weekend Update anchor. Mr. Meyers, this is a notoriously tough audience at the Washington Hilton. Why did you take this assignment?
Well, it's an honor to be asked, certainly, and I think when you look down the roster of people who've done it in the past, I'm certainly incredibly flattered to be on that list now. But I have heard it's a really hard room. Brian Williams contacted me immediately to warn me about the lion's den I was walking into, but as a comedian, you like those challenges, so I'm looking forward to it.
So how do you start preparing for something like this?
Well, fortunately, I have a job that's already sort of preparing for something like this. We obviously follow politics and what's happening in the White House at our show just as part of our daily routine. And as chance would have it, we sort of have a couple weeks off leading up to the event. So mostly you just sit around with your writers and you try to figure out what you think will work in that room. There's the benefit of being able to watch old speeches and watch other comedians and how they did and what sort of stuff works. Talk to people who've been in the audience before. Try to prepare as much as possible, but in the end, you just sort of have to pick the jokes that you feel like are the funniest.
And when you're standing there telling your jokes, the president is sitting right next to you. Does that affect what jokes are told?
Well, it was very funny. Robert Smigel, the incredibly talented writer who worked with Conan on his in the mid-'90s, pointed out to me that, they'll be watching you tell jokes, but that's not as interesting as watching the president listen to those jokes. So I think at some degree you have to keep that in mind, but at the same time, you can't perform thinking about how the person next to you is reacting. You have to sort of charge ahead and hope it all works out.
Is there anything off limits?
Well, certainly, we have the same issue at Saturday Night Live all the time. I mean, I think there is a line of good taste, and you aim for that line and try to get as close as possible, and there are probably a few times where you cross it due to that sort of trying to target it that closely. But I feel like, this is a president with an incredibly good sense of humor, and who's also, I should point out, very, very good at this when he tells his own jokes. That is, I think, the thing that's been the most remarkable looking back at the last couple of years, is how hard the president kills. So with that in mind, I think we'll probably let it rip.
What about current events? Will you be focusing on current events?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the exciting things, it may be a tough room, but as someone who follows politics, I think it's really exciting to go into a room where people are incredibly well informed. You can probably make jokes about the minutiae of politics that wouldn't work on Saturday Night Live unless you had a bunch of setup beforehand. You have this benefit of the fact that all these people are in the same room and they live in this world of DC where they are far better informed about this, and not just more than the normal person, but I think more than the entertainment industry certainly. So it'll be fun for me to be in a room where certain jokes, it's probably the only place that they even have a chance of landing.
Seth Meyers, you've been with Saturday Night Live now for about 10 years. What were you doing prior? How'd you get started in this business?
I was, beforehand I was just an improviser. I worked in Chicago for a long time. I was lucky enough to work overseas in an improv troupe, and then I came back and was just doing a two-person show in Chicago, and I was lucky enough that someone from Saturday Night Live came and saw the show. So this is really like the first paying job I've ever had, which probably speaks volumes as to why I am so happy to still be there.
Where were you raised? Where'd you go to school?
I grew up in New Hampshire, so that was, as you know, I think that's probably where the seeds of being interested in politics begin, because I went to a big high school, Manchester West, and Manchester is, I feel like, where a lot of presidential campaigns start. So, I graduated high school in '92, and I believe we had almost every candidate, Clinton included, came to our school and spoke. And it was a very good place if you thought politics were interesting.
And then college.
And then college, I went to Northwestern University in Chicago.
What'd you study?
Which was I studied radio, TV, film. Not well. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was a very bad student, but I will say I learned the procrastinator spirit that has helped me so much working on a show that you have to put up once a week live. That's been good. That was good training for me.
Now, Seth Meyers, are you a supporter of President Obama, and does that affect your humor?
Well, I am a supporter of his. I'm certainly behind him winning the last election. With that said, John McCain was an excellent Saturday Night Live host, and I count him as a friend because he appeared in a sketch I wrote. And if you appear in a sketch I wrote, I've got your back forever. But I don't. The fun thing is, I think that when you're in a room like this and I think there's this incredibly special part of the White House Correspondents' Dinner is that a comedian gets to poke fun at the president, and I think that no matter whether you're a supporter or not, you don't want to miss that opportunity.
And in your preparation, have you been watching some of the past dinners?
I have been watching the past dinners. It's really interesting. It's interesting just to even notice how political commentary, how political comedy has changed so much. In the last 15 years, I kind of started in the mid-'90s and have been sort of, watching people that I think are, similar to me in style, and as well as people that are completely different. But it's fun. It's fun to, one, be reminded that it is a hard room, and it's been a hard room for a lot of great comedians. But also, you can tell that there are certain people who do a great job.
Are you surprised, Seth Meyers, at the attention that's paid to this gig?
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm one of the people that pays attention to it just because I find it so fascinating. But it does seem like D.C. cares a great deal about it. But I sort of feel like as well they should. I mean, it's an incredibly American undertaking that there's an event where, comedians get to tell jokes about the president right next to them.
Seth Meyers, head writer for Saturday Night Live, Weekend Update anchor, and this year's entertainment at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Thank you so much.